Viking raiders were terrifying, which is why I haven't been to Denmark. I will never go to that medieval death trap of a country. Never ever. They say Denmark is the world's most mysterious country, and when I say they, I mostly mean myself. It's mysterious because of the Viking influence on its absurd culture. Vikings were like the Team 10 of 9th century Europe. Everywhere they went, they left a trail of destruction and mystery. Here are some of those mysteries. In the late 10th century, Viking explorers reached Greenland. They settled there and colonized the island along with Iceland. They settled in the southwest, which at the time was uninhabited. Inuit Greenlanders were living in the north. Viking colonies in Greenland grew rapidly, as their exports of walrus tusk was valuable. But after 400 years, the Greenlandic Vikings mysteriously disappeared. Their settlements became ghost towns, and it's unknown why. Until recently, it's thought they abandoned Greenland due to climate change, but modern studies show such climate change didn't happen, not in Greenland at least. Some say they left to settle in Canada because the soil in Greenland had eroded. Others say the Inuits forced them back to Scandinavia. All we know for sure is they suddenly disappeared. Uthbert swords are a type of medieval sword. The swords were of Viking origin but spread across Europe as they were known for their strength. Uthbert swords were seen as legendary, dominating battlefields. Every king wanted one, but less than 200 genuine Uthbert swords have been found, although there are many imitations. It's obvious to know which are genuine and which are imitation, but no one knows how the Vikings made Uthbert swords. They were much stronger than any other sword of the era. They were made using crucible steel, which as far as history can otherwise tell was only possible to create in the 18th century. But the Vikings clearly used crucible steel 1000 years before this. How did Viking swordsmiths use technology so advanced? 1000 years before their time they were forging super strong swords, and no one knows how. Eric Bloodaxe was a Norwegian Viking who became king of Northumbria in northern England. It's unclear how he became king, but the English king wasn't happy about this. He ordered his soldiers raid Northumbria in revenge, and promising more destruction unless they removed their Viking king. Before long, Eric Bloodaxe lost his throne, but just 4 years later in 952 he became king again. And again we don't know how he did this. This time he converted to Christianity. But that wasn't enough, as the Northumbrians once again forced him out of power. Eric was exiled and while in Spain assassinated. While that's one story of how he died, we don't know for sure what happened to Eric Bloodaxe. Another story tells he was betrayed in battle, cut down by his own soldiers. But we don't know what happened to him, or if he was also king of Norway as some sagas describe. Either way, he died in 954, and as Northumbria was absorbed into England, he was their last king. A mysterious urban legend comes from November of 1965. It goes like this. A police officer was doing the rounds in a small town near Liverpool. Late that night he arrested a man thought to be a mugger, but suddenly they noticed a green glow from above. Looking to the sky they saw a cloud glowing brightly, and in the shape of a Viking longship. It was moving faster than the other clouds as if sailing through the sky. They could see 20 Vikings inside the cloud, which was gradually appearing as a real ship rather than a cloud. Before long the ship disappeared into the air. They later found out an old Viking ship was discovered in that area in 1828. Medieval sagas tell that Vikings used sunstones to navigate their ships. A mysterious crystal Vikings would hold to their eye. The crystal would show them which direction to sail in, or so Norse myth tells, and since medieval times people have wondered if there was any truth to that, and if so, what were sunstones? A 16th century shipwreck was recently discovered underwater. Amongst the wreckage was a cloudy but transparent crystal. Some researchers think it could be a sunstone. It was made from a crystal mined in Iceland. It turns out looking through the crystal can help see the sun on cloudy days, which would have been useful for navigation. Rotating the crystal can reveal the sun's position to within 1 degree, so maybe sunstones were real, or maybe not. If you've seen the show Vikings, you might be familiar with Ragnar Lothbrok. He was a Viking hero mentioned in various sagas and poems. His adventures were legendary, leading many raids against England. It's said he became a powerful Viking king, but was eventually captured by the King of Northumbria and executed by being thrown into a pit of snakes. The only problem is we don't know if he existed. There are no historical records of him, but he's mentioned in over 30 poems. In the poems, he was the father of Ivar Boneless, a Viking who did exist. Ivar Boneless was a Viking commander who invaded England. We don't know why he was called boneless. Suggested reasons range from erectile dysfunction to disability. So Ivar Boneless existed, but his father might not have. Or something like that. Rollo was a notorious Viking known for his raids into what is now France. The Frankish king granted Rollo and his warriors an area of land called Normandy, which Rollo became the first duke of. The king did this to stop Rollo's raids on his cities. Historians have always wondered where Rollo came from, but never known. It was likely Denmark or Norway. To find out, they opened the tomb of his grandson and conducted DNA tests. But on opening the tomb, they realized the skeleton was much older than Rollo and had no family connection. It seems to be an ancient Celtic chief, but he was buried in the fashion of a medieval duke. In 1888, a Viking grave was discovered in Norway. It seemed to be an important leader buried with a longship, far too important a discovery to risk damaging. So they sealed the grave for future historians. In 2007, it was finally reopened. Inside a burial mound atop a Viking ship, he was clearly a wealthy man who died around 900 AD, but there are no records of who this man was. Some think he might have been king of a small kingdom unknown to historians. It would have been short-lived and soon absorbed into Norway. In Norway, people hunt reindeer, and to be honest, I'm surprised Santa Claus allows it. A reindeer hunter was recently atop a remote mountain when he found a Viking sword. He was 5,381 feet above sea level when he noticed a well-preserved Viking sword on the ground. It most likely has been there for over 1,000 years, undisturbed. It's impossible to know why it was left there, possibly being lost during a heavy blizzard. The iron of the sword is well rusted. The fact that it survived for so long out in the open just shows how strong Viking swords were. It's incredible how far Viking explorers reached, and unclear how far their colonies stretched. There are two questions that sum up the biggest Viking mystery of them all. How far did Viking colonies reach, and where is Vinland? Vinland is an area of North America explored by Vikings in the year 1000. It was described in the sagas and thought to mean land of wine. It was a large Viking colony, but its location is unclear. Only one long-term settlement has been found in North America. The settlement is not thought to be Vinland, but part of a larger colony called Vinland. So the real question is, how far did Vinland stretch? And where are the other settlements? The sagas tell us Vinland failed because of internal conflict between Viking settlers. It's possible other settlements were completely destroyed.